Anyway, we probably, knowing Tom, we probably already started. They probably heard
did.
all of that.
We
But
did.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Today with Jared James. Honestly, we have a lot to cover. There's been a lot going on in the real estate world. I am joined here by Miss Linda James, who is operating on not a lot of sleep.
Correct, actually, yeah.
Red Eye Inn. We could just do tales of travel. You have, I think, if I remember correctly, American Airlines is, I think, the largest airline. I think they're bigger than Delta.
Oh my gosh.
I'm almost positive. And if you didn't look so busy right now, I would have you literally Google right now.
I thought you were going to have him walk out because he's wearing like the American
Airlines
flag.
Bigger than Google. Because, man, their app and their technology is a freaking
awful
mess.
Wait,
mess.
What did you want me to look up?
Is American Airlines bigger than Delta? I want to look at this real quick. They're a mess.
Everything about them.
Anytime you have to change.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I think American's the biggest one. I think Delta's number 2. It's so crazy because, like, anytime you have to change anything, anytime their whole credit system, and this isn't what we're going to talk about today, guys, but like,
Don't worry,
I'm just
we're going to get into
I'm in the
real
middle of a
estate.
24-hour fast, and so I just need to get this out because I'm ornery.
Oh.
But their trip credit system is deliberately designed so that you forget to use it or you don't use it, or they make it too difficult to use.
Oh, absolutely.
You go to use it and they're like, you're going to have to call in. Why do I have to call in? I clearly have a credit.
It's like, use
It's going to be a 6-hour wait.
No, it's like you either fly and use it or you lose it completely. Even it's so hard to even find the credit to rebook, and then they're like, oh, you can't rebook online.
Oh, that's the other thing. You go into Delta and
it
it just shows you, here's your stuff. Do you want to use it? Like when you go to pay, it's nice and simple. American, you're playing lost and found every time. You're playing hide and seek. Where is it? I don't know. Find an email. Go check that 18-digit, number letter. Try this one. Now, if you do finally find it, you can't do this online. You're going to have to call the number. What do you mean I have to call you call the number? It'll be a 5-hour wait. We'll do. It's like you're clearly just trying to make this difficult, and it makes me like when it comes down to I can use them or someone else, I will specifically, and you know this, I will not use them because how difficult they are if anything changes.
So we're saying all this, so we need to give some kind of
Context?
background. Yeah, context. We say all this because I was flying from Fresno here, Red Eye.
Yeah.
And it was going from Fresno to Phoenix to
Newark. Yeah.
And there was not a rainstorm, not a snowstorm or thunderstorm, whatever, a sandstorm.
Yeah.
In Arizona, to where they literally completely closed down the whole
like the movie
entire
The Mummy.
airport.
Yeah.
Yes. So no one was flying in. Everyone was grounded, and so it was a mess. And so
as we do, like you did
delayed.
last time you were here, you just say, "Babe," and like I have to go into action and find
wake
another
him up
course.
and I wake him up.
Find another
That's
course.
a common theme,
which I do, but then you got to cancel that flight, and it's just with American, it's always a crap show.
What sucks is that we didn't cancel it. They automatically rebooked me while I was sitting on the plane.
That's right. We were still thinking you might make it because all the flights. I was going to
gamble it.
And for the second time in a row, they automatically kicked you off the flight that was going to get you in earlier that we still wanted to stay on. And then if you go to them, you're like, what the heck? Well, now the seat's taken. Well, now that's done. We're ticked about that. But then even when it comes to, okay, Jared, find me another flight. I find you a flight on Delta. Now you go to cancel that one. I go through the whole steps. Won't let me cancel. Then you call. We can't do it. You have to go to a gate. They don't empower anyone just so they can try to keep your money. It's literally so frustrating anytime we have to use them. And then you jump over to Delta and it's like, you have this credit. Awesome. You're all set.
Automatic upgrades.
Like everything on your phone. Everything's done. And it's like, what year are we in? Yeah. It's just, especially for someone who is the largest airline in the world.
So now we know that this podcast is not sponsored by American Airlines.
True.
But by Delta.
My God.
One day.
I was going to say Air Canada, but they're terrible too.
Oh, are they?
Oh, they're terrible.
Anyway, so I did come in Red Eye. What time did I get here, actually?
You landed at 9:40 in the morning. And you got in 11:22. I think I remember it was something like that. But
I left California. I was at the airport.
It was a long,
at 6 p.m. It was a long day.
It's you guys don't care about our travel triumphs. But
we read those comments about personal
personal
conversations.
So that's well past my bedtime. So kudos to you.
Well, I went from I'm going to bed early to I was up super late because once I start going to that mode and you get your head going, it's just like, all right, here we go. I guess nobody's sleeping tonight.
I know.
and I'm all, like I said, I'm in the middle of a 24-hour fast I'm doing with Noah. So we're getting that done. I cannot wait to eat. But still doing well because tomorrow's the 4th of July whenever you guys are listening to this. So, I always say life is math, +1, -1. Tomorrow's going to be a -1 for sure.
Definitely.
So got to do a +1 today.
Yeah.
But we got a lot to talk about here.
We do.
There has been, my God, it's like just when you think that there can't be more going on in our industry, there is more going on in our industry. And on the last episode, we talked about the idea that Zillow was banning Compass. I'm sorry, not banning Compass. They're banning private exclusive listings, which, come on, guys, we all know what that was. We all know like who that was geared towards and everything else, because that same private exclusive ban did not apply towards for sale by owners, did not apply towards builders, did not apply, it was very specific to what, Compass tends to do. And since that time, there's been a couple things that have happened. Number one, that was going into effect, that ban, on June 30th. And Compass filed, what do you call it, an injunction or whatever you call it, basically fighting and saying that, you are a monopoly, that this is anti-competitive, that you are potentially, considerably harming our business. And, they didn't, as of I know, it didn't happen because Compass, Zillow came back and said, well, if it's that much of an emergency, why'd you take 30 days to file, 3 days before we were actually doing this? And as of now, they are banning their listings. And it's interesting because I had their president of growth, Rory, on a recent podcast. And I'm going to tell you all right now, I caught a lot of flack for that. And I'm going to tell you right now, too, I don't give a damn. Like, I feel like our industry has basically taken the sentiment of the political season we went through, and everybody just stayed the course. Only we moved it over to other areas, but it's the same attitude. And I was getting messages, guys, I pretty much got a message from every CEO of every brand in this industry, every major this, every major that, everybody just making sure I'm still on their side. Because I didn't crush Rory from Compass. And for me, and so for all of you listening right now, look, I've picked up a lot of people who have messaged me from Compass, basically saying thank you for like actually listening. And then I've had other people, I hate your guts. How could you do that? You gave them platform, like as if we're in politics. I love that one. You platformed them. Platformed the largest brokerage in the U.S. Platformed. Like, what are we talking about here? But my point in doing that interview was not to sit there and argue over points. I'm hearing from so many people in this industry what they believe, what Compass believes, and I've heard it from everybody but Compass. And I'm like, I want to hear directly from them. And as a person who commonly gets misquoted and gets said that I think this or I did whatever, I know what that's like. And so I wanted to give an open forum to say, what do you actually think? Let's go on record and tell us exactly what you think. And whenever I disagree, I'm not going to jump in and spend the duration of our time arguing over that one point. The point for me was twofold in that interview. Number one, tell us exactly what you think. Not someone else, not what is your position? And if you go and listen to that interview, they laid out a lot of positions. They do not believe in clear cooperation. We just went down one after another. We got their position, okay? That's all I wanted to do. I was not there to argue. There's plenty of things, by the way, that I disagree with them about. There's plenty of things I disagree with the other people in the industry about, okay? There's truth in everything, and then there's things that I think are faulty. And I don't think everybody's telling the truth, to be completely honest. But I can see all sides. And then people get on you and they go, oh, way to go right down the middle, way to not have a stance, way to be a leader. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, part of me leading is that I listen. I don't just come out some feverish, whatever, with foam coming out of my mouth. If you hear me take a hardcore position, I believe what I'm saying, and I've done my research, and I could still be wrong. 80% of what I believed last year, it's like I find out now is wrong. And so when I go into a position, I come with that humility and go, no matter how much I believe something, no matter how much you believe something, I don't let my ego get in the way of having to be right and having to look strong and having to, when I believe something, I really believe it. But part of it, the best way you get to a belief is by listening. And we are not listening in this industry at all. We are right now, we have extended our political season, and everybody's taking sides, and everybody's deciding who's right and wrong before they even say anything because, it's on that side, and they're terrible, and nothing good can come from the monster. And it's going back and forth. And, similar to how I am in politics, like, guys, you can choose your camps. You won't find me in either. Okay? Like, I'm just not dumb enough for that, to be completely honest. Yeah. I'm not dumb enough for that. Like, I listen to everything. I listen for, when there's some truth that comes out. I listen with empathy of why people feel a certain way. I got a good BS meter too. I can tell when someone's, but I want to hear people talk. It's kind of like free speech. When you shut down people's speech, you never know who believes what. I want to hear what you think. At least now I know. That's what free speech is. Yeah. Now we know who thinks that. Whereas when you shut everybody down and you think everybody thinks the same, you don't know who's right and wrong because everybody thinks the same when nobody really does. And so I feel that same way when it comes to this industry right now. There are a lot of positions being taken right now, and there are a lot of changes coming. And if I were to tell you I know exactly what it's going to look like in 2 years, I mean, my God, guys, just stop for a second and look at everything that's happened the last 2 years. Did you see that coming? Did the smartest people in real estate see that coming? Part of how you get so smart is you realize how dumb you are. We're not that smart. We're not like, and don't get me wrong, obviously people are smart and whatever. Nobody's as smart as they think they are. And I've said it for years. One of the things that I do very well, too well sometimes, is I can play dumb. Like, I want to know what's going on. I want to hear various sides. I want to hear various opinions. I want to play both those sides in my head. I want to play devil's advocate and see, where do I actually fall? So that when I fall there, I know why I fall there. I know the counter argument. I know, but even when you start talking about counter arguments, all of these things are not as black and white as everybody's trying to make them seem right now, right and wrong. It's differences of opinion. It's like you take this whole thing with, with what Compass likes to do or what they want to do right now, and they call it seller choice, right? It's like one side says seller choice and one side says clear cooperation. Got to tell you, they both sound good. Like, you hear any one of those and you're like, I agree with both of those. Yeah. And yet they're on completely opposing sides because it's just the ultimate spin room. Which one? It's interesting. And so when you start to digest what it is that people are saying, you look at Compass and they say, I believe in seller choice. Now, we know there's a lot of things in there that really about them and about their company. That's what they're supposed to do, by the way. They're a publicly traded company. Some of the things I would like it more if they would just come out and say exactly what they're thinking. And they did some of that in the interview that I think surprised some people. And so they'll come out and they'll say that. And then the other side will come out and they'll say, well, we want clear cooperation because the only way a house is going to get the maximum amount of money is if it's open to the overall market. Maximum exposure always equals the most amount of money. And there's a part of that I listen to and I go, that makes a lot of sense too. Brokers and team leaders, first off, thank you for watching the podcast. I want to really quickly let you know about a new company that you're gonna hear me talk about a lot, which is StackWrap. If you are a broker or you are a team leader, this is an absolute must for your business. If you have agents on your team in your brokerage, you know what it's like to pay for a bunch of technologies, to pay for a bunch of things that will help them, but they just don't adopt. And let's face it, one of the things in today's world is that there are so many cool tools and technologies and things that are there to help us, but we also have a million different bookmarks and a million different sign-ins, and we don't know if anybody's using anything, but the real win is in the adoption. StackWrap, similar to how you've heard me say to agents lately, how we've got to get our consumers into our ecosystem, StackWrap does just that for your agents. It takes one place where all of those things they have in their bookmarks, all of the forms, all of the Jared James Academy, all of their CRM stuff, everything, puts it in one spot, single sign-on, and gives you the ability to see what they're going to, has a heat map, lets you see what they're using, what they're not, gives you the ability to send them notifications, gives you the ability to have announcements, and all of these things all in one place like a cohesive team, which is what you ultimately want. So if you're a team leader or a broker, make sure head on over to stackwrap.com, stackwrap.com. And like I said, I can't recommend it enough, guys. This is one that you absolutely need. It's affordable, and more importantly, it's going to get the results for you and your team or your brokerage that you want. So stackwrap.com. Let's get back to the episode. But there's also a part of it that I go, there's also a thing called scarcity. And when you have scarcity with ultimate demand, but limited number of people having an option at something, that does create demand. Mm-hmm. You know, I sold one of my houses 3 or 4 houses ago off the market. They wanted to come see my home. I wasn't ready to show it. I'm like, we're not putting it on the market. We just love this area. We want to see it. And I'm like, guys, it's not ready. I got boxes everywhere. I got, whatever, right? And finally, they talked me into doing it. And I show it to them. They make me an offer below asking. And I'm like, guys, I'm not trying to pressure you or anything. I'm just letting you know, we're going to wait and let it hit the market. Okay, full price. They had no competition other than anticipated competition. Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying this because what I'm trying to say to everybody, guys, is 2 things can be true at the same time. At the end of the day, 2 things can be true at the same time. And that doesn't make you wishy-washy. That means that I'm actually after truth.
I thought you did a really good job conducting that interview. I thought it was great. Questions were good, very clear. He answered them. Obviously, you could tell that he has a really good script down on what to say.
He had things he wanted to say.
I mean, their general counsel or their attorney says, say this, don't say this, you can say that. I mean, every interview probably is the same, quite honestly. So it was very well done. What I like about him is he's a loyalist, you could tell, because he's been there since.
Yeah, he's been there a long time. By the way, the people who responded from Compass that sent me messages, you could tell they love him. Mm-hmm. You could tell he's a fixture in their company, that around the country, they love him. Yeah,
he's been there and helped start it up from literally ground zero.
Yeah.
He has seen the transitions in the industry, so he's aware of rules and how they impacted. He's worked hard to get into his role where he's at today. What's interesting, though, is there was one comment that he made, and he was very much like, we don't listen to the noise. We keep our head down and we work.
Right.
But which is so contradicting because he is trying to be a part of get in front of so many people.
I called him out on that. If you remember that, I actually said to him, I said, wait a second, you're talking about the various answers to things people say. We started off this conversation and you gave answers to what everybody thinks and how they're wrong. You must be listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but he's also poking because, correct me if I'm wrong, he reached out to you.
Right.
Right? So it's also being a part of the noise, right? But regardless, I think interview was great. You did get a lot of backlash on it.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're for or against. And it's for me, it's so funny because I come from the MLS space.
Yeah.
You're a broker. You still have your broker's license. Yeah. You don't practice, but you're a broker. But for me, I'm all about clear cooperation, compliance. Yeah. We all play in the same sandbox. Yeah. Let's work together.
You ran an MLS.
Whether or not your property sells before it hits the market or it goes on the market, is really up to your seller, what they want to do. But let's just play in the sandbox of rules, right? Yeah. All in the same rules.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love tech kind of coming in and poking in spots to kind of stretch ourselves or make us uncomfortable or, I don't know, competition. I love competition.
That's the problem right now, by the way.
Oh, which we are going to talk about, right? But I do like that. But then, like how you were saying, you could see both sides. And I want to jump into this. So as a broker, let's say you put your broker hat on. And what side are you on? Are you on, yes, I'm all about clear cooperation, or don't really care for it?
Well, this is why I think I'm getting accused by leaders in the industry of not being a leader and being wishy-washy, is because here's where my head is. Again, just like I let him talk, here's me talking. Here's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying when I look at this whole situation, yeah, I think it's a better industry when everybody cooperates. And yes, I do think there is a lot of validity to the idea that we're giving you your properties, but you're not giving us ours. Like, that's not right. Like, what are we doing here? And so I 100% agree with that. And I think that's better for the overall market. I think that's better for buyers and sellers. I think it's easier to get to properties when they're in one place. Like, I agree with all of that, like 100. The part where you see me kind of like what we call wishy-washy is then the other hat goes on, the entrepreneur, the tech guy, the whatever, and goes, okay, so if everybody has to follow rules set by people they don't agree with and they don't whatever, where does innovation come from?
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything to innovate. Because if you do, you're cast out. And then I go back and forth, and then I remember there was an article written by Glenn, the founder of EXP, and then Leo made this comment as well. I'm going to have Leo on the podcast too, the CEO of EXP, who has a completely different view from Compass. And Leo made the point, and Glenn made the point, that if they were able to operate the way that Compass wants to operate right now, EXP never could have come about. Because when they started off, they needed access to all of these properties. They needed access to open data. And then I hear that and I go, God, that's a great point too. And so you just kind of like go back and forth. And then when you look at it from the perspective of me, where I get frustrated is because everybody is getting so political in this industry. And I don't mean political, like, I just mean like they're getting tribal and getting whatever, is everyone wants to know like what I think. And that changes with like new information for me. But I don't honestly think anything other than I want to help agents and brokers. Like, good. I don't need to take a side. Like, it's like, okay, I go to this company and now this brand is like, oh, you went and did them. They think blank. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not there because I'm aligned with the belief system of every single founder and owner of that company. I'm there to help the agents and brokers, period.
Okay, so real quick though, you said innovating, right? Do you think Compass saying, "Hey, we're not gonna work with you guys. We're gonna do our own thing," really is innovating? I don't think it is. I would argue that it's not innovating. They're not using their creativity to come up with something to play.
Well, not for nothing. That was
role.
Started by Zillow to begin with.
Okay, but I don't think it's not creative, and by any means. They have some creative things that they're doing. Oh, we're gonna do the book. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. But them saying, okay, we're out, we're not going to follow rules, really isn't creativity. There is no critical thinking behind that. That's just like, we're going to do our own thing now because...
I don't think that's not critical thinking. I think what they do is I think that they do stop and think about what's best for our company, what's best for our agents. And then when they step out of that box, they then have to figure out how to fit it into all these rules they don't agree with. And that's the difficulty. It was like that physical book. But how is it
difficult if they don't agree with anything? It's not really difficult.
Well, I mean, not for nothing, but Robert Refkin just came out and made an announcement that they will no longer be following NAR rules and MLSs.
I think
and so they are saying, look, damn your rules.
I guess my argument is, you're talking about creativity and bringing in technology. By them just saying, "Hey, we're not gonna follow your rules. We're not gonna participate," really doesn't I don't know. There is no creativity there. There is no opportunity for competition. Like I think the rules in their mind. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I think you are, but I don't think that that's 100% accurate. I think that I think the rules and stuff in their mind, and again, I'm just playing their side now, is stifling their creativity. Like the point you're making right now is almost 100% their point. There is no room for creativity. They're like this industry is run by these monopolistic companies and these trade organizations who justify their job and make these rules that you don't agree with. This is their point. I'm telling you, this is their perspective. And it stifles innovation. We have no chance to innovate, because you can't step outside of what everyone else does for a second. And I think his point was, when you go to any other industry, and he even said, it's called competition. We don't need to be doing what you're doing. If you don't like it, don't do it. If you like it and you're going to do it, if we do it, then go ahead and do it. He even said, that's called competition. I
believe rules and boundaries allow you to have creativity and give you the ability to innovate within those boundaries. It's a different type. It's a different type, but you're like, hey, these are the tools that you have. Now build something with it.
Yeah, it depends on the level of the rule. It's like saying, like I've said before, I'm all for free market and whatever else, but I also believe in lines in the middle of the street so we know which side to drive on. At the same time, the more regulated an industry becomes, the less you can innovate at all because there's no room for stepping outside of the lines.
But you know what that is? It really isn't NAR. NAR keeps their rules so vague. They're actually very open-ended, and it's the MLSs that double down on it. And they really say, okay, 1 day, 2 day, you can't do this, you can't do that. We're going to be monitoring open houses. It really isn't NAR. NAR really has very broad rules.
Overall.
And then the MLS, they go in and they adjust them and they get them approved by NAR. That's the process. And NAR says, great. They have to get approved by the state and then NAR and then moves forward. But for them to be like, we're not following any NAR rules is kind of crazy because those are so broad and general for the nation.
Well, I think they're specifically talking about, overall you're correct, but they're specifically talking about clear cooperation, which is not broad. It's 24 hours. It's like, one day.
Yeah.
And so overall, yes, that's correct. In this particular case and the battle that they're fighting, specifically to private network listings, whatever, it's not broad. I mean, it is very clear. And it's the thing that's keeping them from now being on various MLSs or Zillow and having to be in these lawsuits and do whatever. And again, whatever side you fall on that, I'm just saying it's interesting because I can see both sides. I know in my head what I think is best for the industry. I also agree with the point that other industries don't do it that way. Pepsi's not making sure that Coke is following the same rules and they're trying to beat each other. And so I think that where our industry falls is that, we come down to it, which is very accurate. We have consumers and we're trying to make it as easy as possible for them. And when you look at their ability to search, their ability to, and then you compare it to these other countries who don't operate in a cooperative way like we do, it's a crap show. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the people who are really on board with clear cooperation, I think that's their strongest point, and the point they're making is just, we don't want to become one of these other countries. We all cooperate, and then the best wins. We're still going to compete. That doesn't eliminate competition. But at the end of the day, we all need to be cooperating together for the sake of the consumer, for the sake of the seller, for the sake of the, with very few instances where somebody opts out and says, I don't want it, and that's good for them, if they want to do that. But it's a conversation in our industry right now. It's interesting. It's
like
very
it's always
interesting.
The conversation.
But I guess back to
the same thing over and over every year.
Yep.
Back to the original point, though. The point of me doing that interview was not to argue my points when I disagreed or when I did whatever. I think sometimes because people follow me online and they know that I can be an opinionated person or somebody who understands the issues or whatever, that sometimes we now misunderstand a podcast. And so it's very similar to when people will come on and you and I are just talking about whatever and shooting the crap, and then they're like, "You going to talk about real estate?" And it's like, believe it or not, we're more than just talking about real estate. Like this is a different forum. You go listen to a 90-second reel and you'll get a straight 90-second reel on real estate or something like that. The podcast is a different platform, and it allows for different outlets. It allows us to do different things. And so when I bring somebody onto the podcast, unless I'm there specifically for that and I kind of bill it as being that, most of the time I'm not there to sit there and argue and whatever. I want to get their perspective. I'm the interviewer, not the interviewee. When people go on some late night show, or they used to go on Oprah, they'd go on whatever, they weren't there to wait for them to talk about some life thing that they believe in, and now Oprah or whoever goes, I don't think that, not at all, no, and start arguing. They were there to allow people to get to know that person, to see how they got to a point that they were able to be interviewed. What are your beliefs? What are your views? And so when I'm doing a podcast for somebody and I'm the interviewer, not the interviewee, this isn't debate. That's all I want to do. I want to know, what do you think? How do you feel? Okay, let's go to the next part. How do you feel? Let's get it on record. What do you actually think? Hey guys, I want to talk to you about an amazing real estate tool right now called Mosaik. if you want to take your people off of the portals where they're all hanging out and whatever and into your ecosystem, this is the tool that does that. This is a beginning to end, not a CR, it's not another CRM, it doesn't replace that, but it's a beginning to end system that really looks at the lifetime value of your client and looks at every part of that process and takes care of all of it in a way that's completely transparent. So yes, they've got search, they've got transaction coordination, they've got, even for us, when we do things like we teach our students the Core 100, they've got the ability to put those people in there, track what's happening, do all of that in an amazing way. But probably the thing that I love about this more than anything is the transparency. In an industry that keeps talking about transparency, and usually when you hear something over and over again, it means that it's not being done at all. This is actually a transparent tool. This is the first tool that I've seen that actually brings the consumer into the transaction. And I think that is the next level of where we are going within this industry. You hear from so many buyers and sellers that, oh, my agent didn't do anything, or I feel like they're not, and there's not this communication going on. This is the first tool I've seen, almost like the early days of .loop where you had that collaboration, but it was just for the document and the signature. They can do that with the transaction now. Not only with the clients, but with the vendors, whoever it is, in an amazing way where they can see every step of what's going on. You can write notes to them back and forth. They can see every part of the paperwork and everything and the way that you decide to show it. It's really the next level of what we need to be doing from a consumer experience perspective so they know what's happening, and more importantly, we drive that lifetime value back to you. So if you haven't yet, guys, this is a tool you're going to hear over and over again. You're going to hear me talk about it because, I really think it's my role to not just, define what the problems or solutions are, but provide the tools that will actually get you there. And while so many tools right now are just check the box and just say you have them, this is one yourself, your team, your brokerage. If you're not on it yet, you need to be. This is not the last you're going to hear about this. They're going to grow astronomically, and this is something you need to get on board with if you're going to operate. If you're going to be one of those people that really overcomes and is that top producer in your area, you've got to have the right tools in place, and Mosaik is one of those right now. So do yourself a favor, go check out mosaik.io, mosaik.io. Again, mosaik.io. You won't regret it, guys. Send us questions if you do, but this is one of those ones that you're going to look back on and remember, amazing tool. And so for me, that was really what I wanted to do, and I felt good about. We could have gone longer, but we got a lot out. We got to a lot of issues. You are correct. You could tell that he had some talking points. They have to, because they're in multiple lawsuits right now, with probably more to come. Mm-hmm. So I flat out told him in the beginning too, because I wanted him to feel free to say what he thinks. Again, on record, what do you think? Not the, thing you're trying to hide and you're saying this and whatever. I flat out told him before we got going. I was like, look, man, this is not a gotcha. I'm not going to sit here and make you look bad publicly and you say something I don't like, and now we're going to go at it and we're going to intellectualize and whatever, and I'm going to try to be. It's not what I'm doing here, man. I'm like, there's things you guys do that I agree with. There's things you guys do I don't agree with. The first time you say something I don't agree with, we're not going to spend 30 minutes while I battle it out with you. I want to hear how you feel for real. Talk to the industry. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is talking for you right now. What do you think? I told him that before we started.
Yeah.
And I think that gave him the freedom to really say what he was thinking. He knew I wasn't going to pounce on him or something, Mm-hmm. It's amazing when you give people the freedom to be them, and just they'll say more, they get
they
more
very much are just about their agents. So.
Yeah.
They're very much about what works for us. I want them to succeed, head down. Let's
I don't know why everybody's afraid to say that. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, it's not the consumer. And I'm like, first off, everything should be for the consumer. But look, a company is going to try to do what's best for their agents.
I mean, they need to keep them.
Yeah,
agents is what keeps them in
They're trying to
business.
take your agents. You're trying to take theirs. If you don't take care of your agents, they're going to go somewhere else. So I think the idea that many of us are trying to act like that's not a thing is disingenuous.
Yeah, every broker is like that.
Yeah.
Minus, a lot of brick and mortars and smaller ones, they really rely on the clear cooperation. They need the
No
data.
doubt.
They absolutely need it. And if not, they're the ones that are going to be acquired.
Podcast
right?
for another day. I think a lot of those are going. I think the middle's going.
So you're going to hear a lot of noise from those individuals.
Yeah.
And brokers, because they need the larger.
I agree.
brands.
I don't know how well they're going to do moving forward. I'm just being 100% honest. With all the litigation and all the stuff going on, it's going to become more and more difficult. And I'm not saying I agree with that or it's right. I'm just telling you, that's what I'm seeing. Look, guys, there was I just put out a video, another class action lawsuit. Only this time, it's on the buyer side. So the first one that went through that NAR settled with, it it was on the seller side. And it was the idea that the seller, that the listing brokerage was price fixing and colluding and all this other kind of stuff. And so they won ridiculously, but they won. Now you have a very similar suit, only they're saying it from the buyer's side. So now the buyer is paying the commission, and the buyer is the one who is being manipulated and being, that we've created an anti-competitive market that creates false pricing. They have to pay. And I'm just listening to all this and I'm going, first off, anyone who calls our industry anti-competitive, I'm trying to think of a nice word to use here. I almost just used one that would have, but like, you're a moron. You have not spent 3 seconds in our industry. 80% failure rate in the first year. 87 over, that's not competitive. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Brilliance, if your son went into plumbing and had an 80% failure rate in his first year, would you say it's a tough industry? Nobody expects them to not make it. Everyone makes it. Real estate's not like that. To call it anti-competitive, that is just the peak of absurdity, okay? And then a lawsuit is just won, a class action lawsuit, based on the seller paying commissions, and now you bring in an almost identical new lawsuit, class action, but now the buyer pays? Which one is it?
Yeah.
Like, you can't win. You're the epitome of an ambulance chaser. You just won based on the sellers, even though we all know it's ridiculous. But once that's in stone, how do you now go back and go, oh, never mind, it was actually the buyer. The buyer the one's being manipulated. It's being, because the buyer's paying the commission because it's built into the price, which, by the way, a lot of us said during the whole seller suits. But you can't have it both ways. You can't win over here, collect your stuff, and go, where's the next, like, put up your thumb like you're hitchhiking for the next ambulance and go, now we'll go to the buyer side. And it's just, at some point, our system, our legal system, has just got to wake the frig up and go, hey, this is dumb. This is dumb. They're clearly just after money. Like you just made the same argument on the other side. You can't come back to the other side. You can't get into a murder case where like a parent kills their kid and you try a dad and go, dad killed the kid. And once you're done with that, go, mom killed the kid. Which one? Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, what's going on here? And so now that's come out, and that's going to be interesting. Real was mentioned in there.
So wait, who filed this?
An individual buyer. And by the way, make no mistake about it. It was filed in Illinois. Do not think that it's a coincidence that NAR is headquartered in Illinois. This is going to grow because they started off with Real. They started off with the agency. They started off with these other ones, but it's going to grow. And what they're doing is they're putting out feelers to see how big the pockets can be. Gosh. Like that's all that's happening. And I told you guys in the beginning, this is not over. It is a cash grab. It is not about the consumer. What's happened to commissions since they fixed the industry with these lawsuits and NAR settled and all these other places settled? What's happened? They're paying more. Only it's now more convoluted and more difficult. And now there's inner fighting amongst brands and brokerages. And now agents are, good agents are leaving the industry because they're tired of the nonsense. And now fix the industry. Like, they fix the industry like plastic surgery fixes your face. Everyone looks at it and goes, oh God, what have you done? Yeah. Oh, don't I look good? No, you do not look good. They've fixed the industry like a Hollywood celebrity fixes their face. It's not fixed. You know what I'm saying? The more work you do, you look more like the Cowardly Lion. Oh. Am I wrong? You guys know what I mean? That look when people do all the plastic surgery on the face, and before you know it,
it's called like plastic
they look like something out of the Wizard of Oz, the Cowardly
blindness.
Lion. They got that, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It makes sense, doesn't it? They have that face.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's
a tough one.
That's how they fix this industry, okay? And now they're going to keep trying to fix it.
We'll see where this one
with
goes,
with these just absolute. Here's what's really going to happen. You guys ready for the next one? Ready for the next one? So they accuse us of price fixing, meaning everyone's charging the same and they won't budge. Now, again, we all know that's not true.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're the epitome of open market. Negotiate. I have the ability to say yes or no. That's called the open market. Go to somebody else who will do it for less. Go to someone more who adds more value, will do it for more. Do it on your own. Do it, like, all of this is available. Like, I don't know how this is even a thing. It's all available, right? Like, it's there. But they fixed that because everything was fixed. Even though it wasn't. That's what they said it was. It was all fixed. It was price fixing. So now everything's negotiable. It was always negotiable. Like, I feel like I need to say this. Like, that never changed. But now that the idea is that it's negotiable and that with each person, it's not going to be what's being offered on the seller side. You have to negotiate with each person individually, okay? So a buyer's agent has to talk to each individual person to see what they're going to charge. So you know what the next suit is? Why'd you charge them that and charge them that? Discrimination. Here it comes. Guys, mark my words. Here it comes. Why did this group pay more or less than this group? Why is this one getting... Here it comes. Because this is the freaking world we live in right now. Everything is race and class, and it can't just be... So just watch. It's coming. Why did people in this area pay 0.04% less than people in this area? Why did this one over here? And here's what's going to happen. You guys are going to love this. Stating facts are just facts, okay? Generally speaking, I'm not saying it's right, and I'm saying it should change, and hopefully over time, generationally, that's what's going to happen, okay? But if you go to a neighborhood who lives on the water, and there's 10 houses there, and they're all 5 million or more, is there a certain kind of person they look like? They look like me. They look like whatever. Like, it's generationally, that is your white man, like, whatever, right? I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's the case. So higher priced properties like that, who's usually more willing to take, what properties are you willing to take less on when you go into a listing appointment? Hey, will you do 2% on my $300,000 listing? No. I charge 2.5. I charge 3. I charge 2.7. Here's why. If not, you'll have to go with someone else. Awesome. Hey, will you take 1.5% on my $10 million listing? Why, by golly, BG, I sure will.
Right, yeah.
So here is the next lawsuit. How come these white families over here, you charge less of a percentage to them than you did these less affluent families, and it has nothing to do with because race. They were white, or this one was this, or that one was that. It's price point. But that's going to be your next lawsuit. It'll happen.
I think you're just giving them ideas at this point.
Yeah,
so let's stop, Jared.
Can you at least cash
stop giving them ideas?
Yeah, really. But guys, tell me I'm wrong. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like,
possibly.
Again, it's not.
We're in a really corrupt, like...
Well, I mean, it all keeps happening. I mean, it's all, you know, it's you got these attorneys back there just going, okay, what's next? What can we do? And there's cards that you play in this society. There are certain cards that you play that you're not allowed to argue with. You know, there are certain people that you're allowed to discriminate against. You're allowed to, you know, whatever. And it's what's gonna happen. Like they're gonna start breaking everything down, because like when you look at the cash grab, you know, they're gonna go by class. They're gonna go by different sides of the transaction, and next thing they're going to do is they're going to start going by race. And it's sick, but this is the world we live in right now. It's really sad. It's so stupid, but it's what's going to happen. And like someone with any intelligence could look at it and go, well, that's not why, actually. You know, like that has nothing to do with it. And the reason why it started there isn't right either. We need to generationally fix that. There's no doubt about that. But the reason you're giving is not why that was. You know, it was because they have a $10 million house, and somebody goes in and goes, I'll give you 1%, 1.5%, and you go, yuppers, I'll do it in a second. But these things are just going to keep, you know, next and next and next, and what's the next thing, and what's the next thing, and you know, it's almost like when we were going through the first one. I don't take any solace. I don't take any pride, happiness, whatever you want to call it, in saying this. It's clear as day to me. because you have people sitting back going, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next cash grab? And our industry right now is being looked at as...
That's what attorneys' jobs are.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, what's the easiest one?
That's how they make their money.
This episode is brought to you by Jared James Academy. Guys, I want to say thank you for all of you that watch and listen to our podcast. You may not be aware of this, but we literally coach and train tens of thousands of people, and you can be in our academy for as little as $99 a month. There's other options beyond that, obviously one-on-one coaching and all of those things, but for as little as $99 a month, you can be in our academy, which means that you have access to our app, Jared James Academy, or you can access it on your desktop. You have access to all of our courses that are on there that literally would sell for $1,000 a piece anyway, but they're all on there for you. And I personally go live with everybody on our academy 2 to 3 times a month, teaching stuff that I don't teach on Instagram or I don't teach on any of these other places. You know, to give you an example, we just did a whole thing on AI. We did a whole thing on getting listings. We're about to do a whole thing about getting your emails opened. What does it look like? Internet service providers, all of this stuff. You know, part of operating in this market and being one of those few that's going to do really well and be the best in your market is staying ahead of your consumer. It's staying accountable. It's staying coached and trained. And we do that. We do it at extremely affordable cost. So if you love the things that I talk about on a regular basis and you want to take it to the next level, just go to jaredjamestoday.com/academy. And again, for as little as $99 a month, you can be in there with us, learning from me on a deeper level, learning from our courses, hearing from our coaches, all of these things. Or you can go even further and become one of our students with a one-on-one coach, and then you still have access to our academy. So go check it out. I hope you will. It's something that I think you'll find out has been missing from your business.
Now, let's talk about something a little less controversial.
Okay, what's next? What are we talking about?
The Senate just passed. What's it called? The Big Beautiful Bill.
Is that? Oh, it's the Big Beautiful?
The Big Beautiful Bill Act or something like that. Oh my God. Could anything be more of a Trump name?
Seriously.
God, I just hear his name, I hear his voice. The
gosh.
Big Beautiful Bill. It's going to be the most beautiful bill you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, that does. Exactly.
You know, I want to start this off, guys, by saying, because some of you are you're so triggered by everything. I'm going to go over some of the stuff that was in that. And you need to take your political hat off first. I know for some of you it's impossible. You can't do it, okay? And for you, I say, I'm sorry. Like, I can't imagine living in your world. Yeah. You know, but...
Fast forward now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to talk about what was in the bill and what's helpful. Because believe it or not, this is actually something where NAR did step up.
Okay, so do you know about this bill?
No.
You know what's so funny? I was just telling Jared in the car. Like, politics. I love policies. I love I ran.
You love policy. You love policy. You don't like politics.
I hate politics.
By the way, the difference between those two...
It gets too dirty. It gets too dark, you know? I love policies and I love impact. I love having rules set in place, and I love seeing the benefits of these rules and like how it works great for the community and the business, whatever. But politics?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Oh my gosh.
It's why I love you, by the way, because you're not an overly political person where like you know what you believe before it happens, because who believes it? Is that on that side or that side? Well, then I agree. You know, and it's just, I was watching a thing the other day. It was so funny. I was telling you, they went to a rally for one of these people, and they went up to these feverishly just supportive people at this rally for this particular candidate. I'm not going to tell you which side it was, but they just kept going up to the supporters of that rally and giving statements and beliefs from the opposing candidate and going, you know, they said blank the other day. How do you feel about that? But they were telling them that it was the statement from the person they agree with, even though it is vehemently opposed to everything they believe in. And to a T, every one of them, absolutely. You can see why they said that, because they believe unlike the opponent and blah, 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 blah. And they go into this whole thing. And then the person goes, oh, God, I'm sorry. Wait a second. That was actually blank that said that. And then you see them go, you know, and they don't like, what do you, and it just like, that's the crap. That is the crap I'm talking about. Like when you say policy, politics, it's because the difference between policy and politics is that people in politics know which policy they agree with before they even hear it, because they just know which side it's on. It's so stupid. And so we can agree with this big, beautiful bill. Like some people hear that and they just hear Trump and they just get all vigorously, whatever. I'm making fun of it because I think that part of it is funny. Like, I just think he's dumb like that. Yeah. And then there's things about him I like. And then there's things that I just think he's like an egotistical, you know, whatever. And then there's things where like, I don't get so personal about people. It's just whatever, you know? But with this particular one, let's be clear. there's a couple different ways, and it's beyond my pay grade. This adds a lot of money to the deficit, this bill, okay? And I don't think any of us are for that. Now, this is where it goes beyond our pay grade. There's two different ways to look at a deficit. One is you just completely constrain any kind of spending until you finally pay off a deficit, which, by the way, our government will never do because they are addicted to spending. But the other way is that you outgrow it, meaning it's kind of like a business, right? There's only so low you can go on expenses, but it's limitless how high you can go on income. So do you focus on the floor or the ceiling? And so the argument that they're making right now is that they're focused on the ceiling. They're like, this bill, this act, these policies, the things we do are going to make our economy so robust that we outgrow the spending and now we pay off the deficit. Guys, everyone's full of crap. They're full of crap. The next ones are full of crap. They're just going to keep passing the buck. So let's just be very clear about that. Now, having said that, two things can be true at the same time. There are parts of this that are very good for the real estate industry. There are parts of this where all of you who say that NAR doesn't do anything and they're an absolute waste and all of that stuff, look, nobody's been more critical than me. But I'm also, I'm not such an ideologue that I can't say that was good. They did do a lot of advocacy and they got a lot of things in this bill that were absolute wins, okay? So let's talk about what some of those are. Okay, that's why I pulled out the old trusty computer.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, a couple of things. Some of the major wins, and by the way, I'm only going to cover 5 or 6 because there's a lot of them here, and I'm not going to get into all the details of all of that. We'd be here for, literally hours, okay? One of the major wins was that they have a permanent extension of lower individuals' tax rates, okay? So whenever you see these various tax rates and stuff, or you see tax write-offs, or you see for example, the child credit was increased, I think to $2,200 or something like that. These things expire. So you don't realize this, but certain tax rates and capital gains and these, they're put in place, but they're not forever. They expire unless you either keep extending them or you vote to make them permanent until they're overturned, okay? And so it's important to understand that sometimes a win is not getting something more or increasing it, it's just getting it extended. Because the downside of it not being extended would be astronomically bad. And there was a lot of stuff in here like that, okay? So one was a permanent extension of lower individual tax rates, meaning the rates they're at are not going to change. By the way, they did the same thing for upper income, okay? An enhanced and permanent qualified business income deduction from Section 199A. Now, babe, would you like to explain that to us in detail? We'll just put both cameras on you, zoom in, and have you just kind of get into what an enhanced and permanent qualified business income deduction, okay? Yeah. We're going to talk about these things.
Thank you.
But that's why it's funny, because it's people hear this and they're like, what?
I know.
Number 3, a temporary.
I would just ask, Knox. Knox, break this down for me, please.
You'd ask Knox?
Knox.
Break it down like I'm 10, please.
Wait, you ask Knox if what?
To break that down for me.
If I wasn't available.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, Knox has taken over first place?
No.
Knox is the name of my wife's ChatGPT, who sounds very muscular, confident, tall, light-skinned, deep voice.
If I don't get immediate response back from Jared, literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I automatically go to Knox. And then I'm like, babe, I just did this. I'm like, babe, oh my gosh. You would have answered the same way.
She said, you're not going to believe it.
I even messaged Knox and said, Jerry would have said the same exact thing.
That's too funny.
And they said, yeah. And they agreed.
And Knox said, he is a threat to me.
He's no good.
Eliminate.
Eliminate Jared. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go back to.
All right. A temporary, meaning 5-year, quadrupling of the state and local tax deduction cap beginning 2025. Now that's also very important. What you're going to hear is you're going to hear words like SALT. It doesn't mean like salt and pepper. SALT means state and local tax. SALT, salt, state and local tax. So when you hear me say SALT, it's bringing the spice. A permanent extension of the mortgage interest deduction. That's a big one. That's a real big one. And the permanency of that is really the big deal, okay? So let's talk about these. The first one, you have a permanent extension of lower income tax rates. Guys, it just means more take-home pay, more expendable spending. I don't know if you guys know this, but what do you call it? Where was I going to go with that? You had the spending. You had there was something I really wanted to cover here, and all of a sudden, why don't you get Knox on the
shoot,
Knox on the
I
line?
can't help you with that.
I'm losing my mind over here, but I was going to cover something, and it was really
a good one?
It was a really good one.
Do we have to just put a?
Well, whatever. But anyway, my point is that when you start to look at that was what it was.
There we go. We got it.
Here we go. Most people don't realize this right now, but inflation is at a 5-year low. So like that's a big deal. Okay, you don't hear about that, but that's a big deal. It was at over 7% for 4 to 5 years. It's now at about 2.2%, which is healthy. That's good. Okay, so there are good economic things that are happening. I'm not saying everything's good. I'm saying there are things here that are good. Okay, and if you live in America, you should hope for that. Okay. So anyway, permanently locking that in means more take-home pay, stability. You know what your taxes are going to be, long-term spending, all of that kind of stuff, which is all fantastic. Okay, permanent qualified business income deduction from Section 199A, the 20% tax deduction for pass-through businesses, which means sole proprietors, S corps, LLCs, all of that kind of stuff. If I remember correctly, this doesn't say it in here, but I think when I read this, they actually increased it from 20% to 23%, which applies directly to independent contractors and small business owners. Okay, that's a massive increase as far as what you're able to write off on your taxes. The thing that we're looking at here just says that it was extended, that it's now permanent 20%. I'm almost positive that it was increased to 23%. I've read that somewhere. If I'm wrong,
okay,
shoot me.
We'll ask Knox.
Don't actually, but you got me.
Should I ask Knox?
Yes, Knox.
I'll ask.
Okay.
After this, and
Knox
I'll let
can
everyone
mind
know.
his own business. Okay.
Knox. Oh God, he didn't hear that. It's okay.
She's more worried about Knox. Number 3, a temporary 5-year increase in SALT deduction cap. Okay. Again, state and local tax. Okay, okay. So previously, the deduction cap, meaning how high you could go, was actually $10,000. They increased it, they quadrupled it to $40,000. And so that means that's for the next 5 years. Usually, when they extend these things, if they're not permanent, they go on for about 5 years, and that is huge when you talk about places that are highly taxed. Places that aren't usually good to invest in, New York, New Jersey, California, like these kinds of places, because that just quadrupled the amount you can write off, and so that's a huge thing. Okay, so really, really good. Just know, guys, that's a positive thing. Number 4, protection for business SALT deductions and 1031 exchanges. This is humongous, because they were going to get rid of the deductions that different business entities, many of the deductions business entities were currently writing off. They're now going to remain fully deductible. But more importantly, the 1031 like-kind exchanges, meaning that when you are taking money out of a property and putting it into another one commercially, putting it into another one that is like-kind, and you can put it in the next one without being taxed at that moment. That's what a 1031 exchange essentially does for you. That was about to expire, and it wasn't going to happen anymore. That would crush investment, real estate investment in our country. So that has, if I remember correctly, is that for 5 years or is that permanent? They left it the same, long term. I don't know how long that is.
This is great when you have a businessman or business leader as president. You know,
that is one of the things. Like he's for real estate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The real estate.
Other things, as many of you agree, not so much.
I know, yeah.
You know, but then there's other
works in our
things, like
favor.
from a business perspective, the reason why the stock market's at an all-time high is because these are business things. Like this is good, right? Number 5, permanent extension of the mortgage interest deduction. Again, this is humongous. You know, people, when they buy a home, they're able to permanently deduct their mortgage interest off of their primary residence, okay? That encourages home ownership for especially first-time home buyers, because a lot of times when people look at owning versus renting, they simply look at the numbers and they go, this much per month, this much per month. I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to do whatever. And what they don't take into account, which is a huge part, is the tax deduction off of your mortgage interest, which especially in the beginning is almost all interest in that payment you make. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge tax. If you have a $3,500 a month mortgage, which is not abnormal right now, if 90% of that right now is interest,
yeah.
it's over $3,000 a month. It's a $36,000 tax write-off. Think about that, you know? And so that was going to go away. That's not going away, okay? Now, there are many other things that are in here. Like I said, child tax credit was bumped up to $2,200. That's 100% tax deductible. That's a huge thing. Again, they're trying to promote the idea of home ownership of having kids, which obviously all of that also leads to things like home ownership and those kind of things. Other things that happened here that weren't talked about as much, but I think it's huge. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot of them, but one of them that's absolutely humongous is that they strengthened the opportunity zones and gave tax incentives for investing in and building in opportunity zones. Now, if you don't know what opportunity zones are very specifically for designated low income and underserved areas. I almost said underdeserved, and I was like, God, that doesn't sound right. Low income and underserved areas.
So are these like these commercial buildings, Section 8 properties? Are they?
Yeah, it's very specific to residential housing.
Okay, so a lot of this is government funded, possibly?
So the problem is that right now, it's not that it's government funded, it's that the tax incentives push it. And so right now it becomes very tough to build affordable housing. That's why every house you see built is just some kind of monstrosity, because the profit margins are so little that they have to go higher to make more money, right? When you're making 10% on a $200,000 house, you make 20 grand. When you make 10% on a $2 million house, it's 200 grand. So it's escalation clause, right? You got to go higher and higher and higher. And so what they did is that they actually went and looked at these opportunity zones and what the tax incentives were, and they increased all of them, and they extended all of them. And what they're basically saying is they're saying to these builders and other people,
Hey everyone, if you're watching this episode, you've heard us talk about the Jared James Advance that is happening on September 18th and 19th in Orlando, Florida at the Rosen Shingle Creek Resort. And you've also heard this is the last one that we're doing, which is crazy, and so many reasons for that, but we talk about that in this actual episode. If you don't have your tickets yet, go to jaredjamestoday.com/advance. If you want to sponsor, you can also do that there, but I'm telling you, this is the advance to get to. I am more prepared. It's more relevant than ever. So get yourself, your colleagues, your team, everybody you know. Let's meet in Orlando. If you have ever been to an advance, one of the last 11 advances, I really want to see you there. I can't tell you enough. It's like a politician asking for your vote. I really want to see you there. So let's make sure to get there, guys. Let's do it reunion style. Let's close out correctly and make sure you get your tickets. September 19th, Friday night, stay through till Saturday. We are going to have just the party to end all parties, the white party. Those tickets are also available on the same page. Can't wait, guys. I'll see you in Orlando.
Build in these areas. We need housing. We're going to give you the tax incentives. It's almost like when a large corporation or a large company is looking at moving their headquarters. Look at why they all leave New York or they leave California, right? Yeah. Tesla left California, went to Texas. Why did they do that? Because the tax incentives in Texas were so good. It was Texas saying, we don't think you're the enemy. Bring your employees here. Mm-hmm. We're going to take a much lesser tax than they were going to tax you in California, but you're going to bring these thousands of people, and they're all going to buy goods. Yeah. They're all going to spur our economy. They're all going to pay real estate taxes. They're all going to pay state taxes. They're all going to go to our restaurants. They're all going to. And so they're looking at the bigger picture and going, screw that 32%. We'll give it to you. We'll defer your taxes for the first 5 years. Bring your 5,000 people here. That's what spurs the economy, right? And not just the economy meaning, we have people in that plant. Buying gas, booking birthday parties, everything, And so this essentially is very similar in the sense that instead of it being like a state being like, hey, come to us, this is the federal government looking at areas that are deemed as underserved or low income and saying, hey, we need houses there too. So in the same manner, we'll give you huge tax incentives to go and build in those areas so it's worth it to you. And so those were some of the major things that happened in this latest big, beautiful bill. It's a terrible example. But there's more, guys. Literally, there's a lot more when it comes to real estate, without a doubt. But I can unequivocally say to everybody listening right now. Look, guys, and I'm telling you, like my wife's sitting right, I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what your politics are. Guys, I literally don't care. In fact, the moment that that's how you evaluate me, or like that's how you base our relationship, or that's how, I probably don't like you anyway. Like, it's just not how I live my life, okay? Like, I literally look at everything and whatever. What I'm telling you is from a real estate perspective, this is probably the most attractive bill we've seen in 20 years for the real estate industry. Like this is basically saying we need real estate to absolutely explode. Guys, real estate, depending on what you look at, is somewhere between 17 and 20% of the overall GDP, gross domestic product. It makes up about 1/5 to 1/6 of our overall economy. And again, you can make an argument that it actually makes up much more than that because that's just the pure numbers. Forget about what is spurred from the people in the real estate industry, right? But just from the pure numbers, it's 1/5 of our economy. The idea that politician after politician, Senate after Senate, president after president has basically just put up a big middle finger to our industry and not realized how important it is overall. This particular bill, no matter who you vote for, even if you hate this guy, vote him out next time. Even if you hate these people, even if you love this person, I don't care about any of that. This particular bill, great for real estate. Like, great for real estate.
I'm putting you on the spot. You as an agent, this bill came out.
Yeah.
You went through all of this. They just listened to the podcast. What would you do to market yourself and this bill, to get people, to get buyers, sellers, builders, whatever, business?
Okay, when you say market.
Not market. How would you use this on social media to get traction?
Yeah, well, I mean, right off the bat, I'd be contacting all of my investors, right? Like there was a big fear. I mean, you talked to Jeff, our buddy, and his big thing was that it looked like 1031 was really going to be screwed with. There was talk about 1031 going away. They also, I didn't go into this, they also did a thing where you can defer capital gains up to 5 years. And again, I don't want to confuse the crap out of everybody, but like, that's a big win. Like that is a, my father and I used to joke around when we first started investing and we had to pay capital gains. And it was like, my God, we had to cut a check for whatever. And then he looked at me and he goes, Jared, I've had much bigger problems in my life than having to come up with capital gains tax. Capital gains means you made money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it is paid off of profit, right? And so if I'm you, yes, I'm going after my investors. There's no doubt about it. Yes, I'm letting everybody in my database. I'm doing content about the idea that the child tax credit went up and what that means and how that allows you more money. And, as an independent contractor, here's what they did with the percent you can do off. And I'm absolutely talking about homeowners. I'd be doing a video tomorrow about the mortgage interest deduction and how that is here to stay. And that when we're talking about renting versus buying, we are not talking about all of the facts. Like, this is a major one that you're not considering when buying versus selling. This is one that pushes you over the edge that you absolutely need to be buying, right? It's no different. It's no different than when, I just did a video recently and we all talk about inventory. And like, we talk about all these things that have to do with inventory, but we never talk about the fact that many people aren't listing their home because of, and this is the next thing that needs to happen, by the way, because of the capital gains exemption on homes. The capital gains exemption, which is $250,000 of profit on an individual when they live in a primary residence 2 out of 5 years, you can make up to $250,000, as long as you live there 2 out of 5 and pay no tax. It's up to $500,000 for a married couple filing jointly. That was put in place in 1997. What's happened since then to home prices?
Increased, yeah.
So the point of that thing was to keep people from having to overly pay taxes when they already pay taxes. We want home ownership. We want them to be covered on some level. The price of a home since 1997 has gone up 260%, which means if you wanted to protect somebody in today's world in the same way that you protected somebody in 1997, the exemption for an individual should be $660,000 and a married couple filing jointly should be $1.32 million. And then you'll get people who go, oh, but what are you going to change it every year? That's so difficult. We can't do that. We're going to try to pass a new bill to make it happen. Really? Isn't that what you do with property taxes every year? So isn't it amazing when it's something that saves people money, keeps them from paying taxes, which is good for the economy, we can't find a way to come up with every year what the new one's going to be. But when it comes to property taxes, somehow we can figure that out and charge you more. And it's always more, by the way. It's never less. We can find a way to do that. And so there's so many things that are upside down. But to answer your actual question right now, I'd be getting this information out. I would break it up into segments, each part of it. And I'd be doing content around it. I'd be updating my database about it. I'd find my very specific investor stuff, and I'd make investment stuff. I'd make investment content. I would pay to promote that to the investors in my area. I would attach it to specific buildings. You know, like, this is what's going to happen with this building because you're able to do this. And I would do, like, I'd be getting the word out. Like, most agents don't even know about what just happened, let alone your consumer. And so you've got to be the voice that, you know, people listen to, the voice of reason, the voice of, you know, what's happening right now, you know? And so, by the way, that just put me down a whole other rabbit hole because there's so many things in my head that I'm not going to go into right now, like the things we focus on compared to the things that, you know, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole, but there's all this talk about affordability right now, and all the focus is on the price of homes and the interest rates. And you know the biggest problem is not the price of homes and the interest rates? You know what it really is, but nobody's talking about it? It ultimately comes down to your insurance, you know, and your taxes. Those are what keep going up astronomically, and we can't do anything about it. Just keeps happening. When I moved into our new home here, my taxes jumped. Let me do the math on this here.
First of all, taxes here in Connecticut are...
My taxes jumped after year one, 85%. My property taxes. Think about that for a second. A normal person who moves into a home has a lender tell them, here's what you can afford based on the index and the percent of your income based on, you know, your PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, whatever. Here's what you can afford. And so you fit within that. This is what you can afford. And 1 year later, your taxes go up 80%. That's called foreclosure.
I know.
Like, can't do it.
Can't afford
right?
it.
And so we have all this conversation. We'll do this another day on another podcast. Maybe we'll talk about it at the advance. But like, all we talk about is prices and rates. And I'm over here going, hey, does anyone not realize that insurance is screwed? Does anyone not realize that like local city taxes are screwing you and they just keep going up? We're going to reassess. When was the last time that assessment went down? It's not a reassessment. It's an increase. Like, let's stop calling it something it's not.
It's not every year.
Every
though.
year we're going to
Every year?
reassess, or every place that we're like, we're going to reassess. I'm waiting for that reassessment to go down. When is that? Anybody listening right now, just tell me the last time that happened, you know? And so the whole system is just, God, it's, again, I'm not going to go down this road, but man, it does frustrate me.
Insane.
It frustrates me because it hurts families, it hurts people, it hurts people's abilities to, you know, not just stay in their homes, but be able to do other things, you know, do vacations with their kids and go out with their wife or their husband and go out and do it. It's just, it bothers me. And yet we've gotten to a point right now where we just accept it. And like, you know, next person comes in, more taxes, more taxes, more taxes.
It has to stop at some point. Like
Does
lately here, it's like I've been seeing so many vacancies on commercial properties.
Yeah.
You know, at some point the city has to be like, okay, well, you know, now we have vacancy. No one's paying.
Yeah.
Well, no, then they'll turn into condos.
No, they'll do what
There's so many.
They'll do what the potential mayor in New York is doing, the socialist running for mayor, where he's now put together a thing where he's like, you know what we need to do, guys? We need the government to buy back all of the homes and the apartments, and then we'll communally own them back to you when you rent them. And guys, that's socialism. But like when you continually get more and more expensive, more and more out of reach, can't do it. And then we all complain about institutional buying and we all complain about all this other stuff, but like we're allowing it to happen because little by little it's frogs in boiling water, more expensive. And then the only option left, and people actually hear it and go, well, maybe that's a good idea, is that the government buys the freaking properties. And it's like, guys, are you out of your mind? But when you little by little turn that temperature up, little by little, you know, when taxes started here, but then it's a little bit more. Before you know it, the average person doing well off is paying over 50% to the government.
Yeah.
Not how it was supposed to be. But it didn't jump from here to here. It just
Gradually
turned the temperature up a little bit more. And it's just that's kind of what's happening. And it's like, God, if you live in this country, I don't care what side you're on. Like at some point, you know, you got to understand that like you're going to take care of your money better than anybody else. You know, like that's my belief. I'm all for helping people and taking care of people. And I do a ton of stuff personally for people and everything. I'm not for giving my money to the government and seeing if they take care of it. I think we've all, I think that test is out like that, they don't do a good job. It's yeah. Anyway, it's been an interesting pod.
I know, huh?
We announced we have the advance coming up. We have the agenda coming out soon.
We're now in July, so
yeah, the agenda coming out soon. You guys are gonna see me pushing a lot now because it is time. What was that from The Lion King? Is that
I have
it
no
is
idea.
time or is that?
I don't know.
Is that Lion King?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I'm usually good at this though.
Yeah, I might have screwed it
Yeah,
up.
I don't
But
know.
I feel like
It is not
Rasaki,
Mufasa.
Rahaki.
I don't know, but
What's
I
his
don't
name?
think it's a
I
Lion
don't know.
King.
All I've got is John Cena
The
right now.
the monkey, Rufaka. What's his
Yeah,
name?
Rafiki?
Rafiki. There you
I
go.
don't think it is he?
I'm not even
Maybe.
sure, but
I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure I might have
But-
dropped like 5 different slurs trying to figure out how to say this
We're
guy's
like
name. But I
2.5
think it's Rafiki.
months out, which is kind of
Yeah. So
crazy.
you're gonna
That's
see
crazy.
Isn't
me
that crazy? I
promoting
know.
and guys. By the way, once you get your ticket, Orlando, Florida, September 18th and 19th. Get your white ticket for Friday night. We're
Which
gonna
is
have the party of all parties.
you racist man. It's a white
Yes,
party.
it is. Yeah.
You get your white ticket.
So that's right. We're taking back Diddy's party. Okay, doing the white clothes. Just make sure, guys, they're not see-through. Okay, wear some undergarments because I feel like someone's gonna screw up. Okay.
Uh-oh.
And it's me. No,
Yeah, it's
sorry.
gonna be Tom. Yeah. So Friday night, the white party, and also make sure you get your room at the hotel because that does always sell out. And
I
this is
know.
not one of those ones where it's like, do I want to stay at the event or not? It's a resort. It's the only place to stay.
And I may be wrong, but I think they do charge for parking. I think that's.
Oh, if you're like local?
Well, no, if you're staying somewhere else. I'm just saying.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You know what? I was about to say every party needs a pooper, but that's a great point. Now
No,
you're
that-
paying more for parking
that-
or an
yeah.
Uber over.
Right. Exactly.
Tom for the win.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I need one of those things. Whenever Tom says something, I go dun, 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 dun.
Where's that keyboard thingy? That remember? It had
Yeah,
all
we
those
should
little
get one of
buttons?
those.
What's that horn called? Dun, 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 dun.
Like an air horn?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, tickets.
Anyway, so we got that
rooms.
going on. I'll have the agenda coming out soon. I got some real exciting stuff going on, and guys, I'm ready to go.
Sponsors. We're looking for a few more sponsors. We
Yeah.
have a couple more spots.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm really excited about it.
Awesome.
fun.
This was, guys, we got a lot in on this episode here. We're going to go enjoy the 4th. I'm going to continue to get Tanner and Tanner.
Who's
Tanner and
that?
Tanner.
What's that? DJ Tanner from Full
DJ.
House. No, I'm going to continue to
Work on your
work
tan.
on my color. We are going to have a great time tomorrow. I hope everybody listening has a great time. I know we just
Stay
had
safe.
Canada Day as well. Canada Day was a couple days ago. Actually, my son was over.
Canada.
He was over the border. He was an illegal. He took a boat and he went over into Lake Ontario and he crossed over into Canada. And for about 5 hours, he was an illegal. He was over there.
Uh-oh.
He said it was awesome though. They were letting off fireworks and everything. I don't know if most people know because a lot of our people are from Canada. They have Canada Day and it's a really cool celebration.
Yeah.
And he said it was so cool being there. So and so beautiful. He had never been to Canada. So we love our Canadian brothers and sisters. I'm there a lot. So guys, we hope you enjoy the 4th. Anything else you want to
No.
put out there, Tom? You got
That's
anything?
it.
I don't think so.
All right, guys, we love you. Get your tickets, and we'll see you on the next episode. But we'll also see you in Orlando, Florida, September 18th and 19th. Jared Jane's Advance, the last one.
Last one.
And if you're not
That's
sure
okay.
why you didn't watch the last episode, you just showed your cards. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.